Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Voss, the political dragon here in our offices in the Bronx. It's February 13th, about 9 p.m. at night, and I saw something today that I wanted to go over with you. It is an issue that we have been seeing since 2018. It comes back over and over again, and you know what? Let's try and debunk this finally and move on. Maybe once we get rid of this, we can get into serious issues facing 2024 and every election thereafter. But before we do that, we do want to mention, if this is the first time that you're here on this channel, we welcome you. We thank you for being part of our audience. We want you to know we do long-form political commentary, and every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a live stream with you. We reach out on all the social media that the internet overlords will allow to hear your voice speaking to us about the issues that matter from anywhere in the world, because we believe in the First Amendment. We believe in your right to free speech. It is not just an American principle, it is a principle for the world. It is your birthright. And whether or not your government agrees, whether or not the internet overlords like it, we want you to share your voice with us every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Fair enough. Republicans, in election after election, year after year, they go after the red meat and they tell you they want to cut taxes. They own that. And libertarians, they want everyone to be able to have drugs. For everyone. Any drug you want. They own that. When you look at conservatives, they want to go to the Constitution. They believe in the Second Amendment. You have a right to own a firearm. That's their thing. Democrats, well, they've got the race card, of course. It's always about race. It's always about minorities. It's always about women. That's their thing. They even have a bonus. Really red meat, hot button, abortion. That's their thing. Since Margaret Sanger decided to have a happy face and open up her little one-stop shops in low-income areas in major cities across this nation, that has been their secondary hot button. So what does that leave for progressives? What do they get to have as their hot button issue to get out those votes to make sure that people vote for their people? Free stuff. Well, not really, though, because, again, that's more of a Democrat thing. They always promise free stuff. So the progressives need something a little bit different, something that will give them a little bit of an edge, because it's not quite free stuff. It's free money, extra money, your money. And we keep hearing them say this as they have gotten more and more popular. They have offered more and more of minimum wage increases. That's right. They keep saying that they want to increase the minimum wage. First, it was moving the minimum wage from $7.25 an hour to $12. Then they went to $15. Then they went to $25. It's really interesting. Now, we've been talking about this more than a few times in the past. In fact, you can go back. We were talking about it in 2019 based on evidence from 2018. In fact, it was the chairwoman of Obama's Economic Council. She said raising the minimum wage will not help. It will be a hindrance. It will hurt. It will increase the cost of goods, increasing the amount of poverty. It will cause people to be unemployed, putting a burden on the economy. It's just not worth it. But a lot of people didn't believe that. But that wasn't good enough. It didn't convince enough people. In 2022, the progressives came back and said, wait a minute, we can do this. Not only do we want to increase the minimum wage, not to $12.50, to $15 an hour, but guess what? We're also going to try and push for a living wage. That's $25 an hour. Now, it didn't matter that even though they said this, it would increase the national deficit. It would increase poverty. It would make people unemployed. Doesn't matter. Bernie was in favor of it. All the progressives were in favor of it. The squad absolutely wanted you to have a minimum wage increase. Now that kind of brings us to where we are today. But before I get to that, let me take a moment to just remind you something about the minimum wage. We have seen 4 times now. 4 times since 2018 that the Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, has come out and they have done reports. They have studied what would be the impact of raising the minimum wage to $10. What would be the impact at $12, at $15? We've had the studies over and over again. And every time they come back with the same thing. There's only about 3% of the entire population of working Americans that actually have minimum wage. 3%. And everyone else isn't affected by this. You're not going to get a raise because the fry guy at McDonald's got a raise. It doesn't work that way. And what we have seen consistently is every single study says the same thing. You're going to increase the amount of poverty because somebody has to pay for that increased wage, that extra money going to the workers. You're going to pay for it. You, the consumer. It's going to be passed on. Even Obama's economic advisors knew that, as well as the Congressional Budget Office. And some people will just get fired. Some people, as we saw when it happened in New York City, some people decided to work part-time and work less and less because they were getting too much money for their government benefits. And so they wanted that check from the United States government without having to work too much, so they worked less so they didn't cross the threshold and get cut off from the United States government aid. So in every single aspect, less people are working, more people need unemployment and government aid, more people are trying to game the system, and fewer people are being helped while prices go up. Inflation hits everyone. You don't have to believe me. The evidence is out there. We have covered it year after year every time this issue comes up. But the issue always comes back up. And now we're seeing it in California. Barbara Lee, who is looking to become the California senator to replace Dianne Feinstein. This year, the election is on. She's battling against Adam Schiff to try and take the big prize in California. And she's losing. Adam Schiff, as much as I hate to say this, Adam Schiff, even though he is a liar, and that is proven, even though he has misled the American people, even though he is being kicked out of Congress and therefore he needs a new job, he's winning the Senate race. It's really sad. But Barbara Lee, she has one gimmick left. She can't use the race card. She already is the race card. So she can't pull that. Instead, what she has decided to do is she's going to go after the progressive gimme, that red hot button for progressives, minimum wage. She doesn't mention to all of her voters that it's not going to help them get a raise in their job. It's only going to pretty much affect teenagers. That's it. That's the majority of the people who get minimum wage. Teenagers, because they have no experience. But she says, don't worry, we're going to increase the minimum wage. And it's not going to be $10. It's not going to be $12, not even $15. It's not even going to be a living wage of $25 like we heard from Anthony Brindisi in 2020 when he was running for the New York 22nd District. No. Now the progressives have a brand new number, $50. That's right, $50 an hour to flip burgers at McDonald's. Don't you want to be the fry guy at Wendy's? I do. For $50, I'll make the best damn fry you could possibly have for $50 an hour. And who wouldn't? But setting aside the fact that unskilled basic labor would be $50 an hour, and mind you, the manager isn't going to get a raise. No one else is getting a raise. Just the fry guy, the minimum wage worker. Okay, putting that all aside, let's hear what Barbara has to say.
You're calling for a $50 an hour federal minimum wage. That's 7 times the current national minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. Can you explain how that would be economically sustainable for small businesses? You have 60 seconds.
So Barbara Lee is talking about increasing the minimum wage by 700%. Think about that. 700%. That throws off all of the economics. It is an astronomical increase for people who have no skill. By the way, skilled labor does not improve. They don't get any bonuses. They don't get any increases. This is money that's coming from God knows where. In fact, we do know where. It's going to come from you in your pocket to pay the fry guy $50 an hour. That's what she's proposing here. And she's assuming that small businesses, a mom and pop, the guys down on the corner, not McDonald's, but the guys on the corner, your local bodega, that they're going to be able to afford $50 an hour to have someone stock the shelves. Do you know what it's going to do to the price of milk, the price of eggs, bread, your basic staples for that local bodega to be able to compete? Okay, she thinks it will. Well, let's hear her answer. What is she going to say that's going to convince us that small businesses will be able to stay afloat and you aren't going to be wiped out of your paycheck? What's her answer?
First, let me say I owned and ran a small business for 11 years. I created hundreds of jobs, benefits, retirement benefits, also health care benefits. I know what worker productivity means, and that means that you have to make sure that your employees are taken care of and have a living wage.
So she starts off telling us that she was a great businesswoman. That doesn't answer the question. Telling us that she has experience owning a business. Mind you, she doesn't tell you what kind of small business. She doesn't tell you whether that business was consumer, was it dealing with the retail, the regular public, or was it getting money from the United States government, which isn't affected by retail sales or consumer, how much consumers get paid. The government just prints more money. Who was she doing small business with? What kind of small business was it? How many federal grants did she receive for that small business? She doesn't go into that. Fine. Let's ignore that. The question was, how can someone who has a small business that isn't doing business with the United States government, that isn't doing business with the state of California, what is a real business actually going to do to survive? How can they afford $50 an hour? What's the answer?
In the Bay Area, I believe it was the United Way, came out with a report that very recently, $127,000 for a family of four is just barely enough to get by. Another survey very recently, $104,000 for a family of one. Barely enough to get by, low income because of the affordability crisis. And so just do the math. Just do the math. Of course, we have national minimum wages that we need to raise to a living wage. You're talking about $20, $25.
So at this point, she's still not answered the question. She's giving you a lot of rhetoric. She's, it's just not affordable. That doesn't explain how will a business afford that. How will they not close their doors? How will they not increase the prices so that people who are poor won't become even more poor? She hasn't answered the question. She's dancing around it. She's looking for sympathy. She's trying to appeal to poor people saying, you're going to get rich. Don't worry. We're going to give you free money. Don't think about it. Don't do the math. Don't think about this logically. And don't notice that I'm not answering the question, because the answer is they're going to close. Small businesses will close their doors. People will be unemployed. And poor people will get more poor. That's the real answer, which is why she doesn't want to answer the question.
Fine, but I have got to be focused on what California needs and what the affordability factor is when we calculate this wage.
So the answer at the end of the day is she has no idea. Barbara Lee wants to make the big promise. Free money, extra money. You're going to get rich. Except she knows it's a lie. She knows that if you were to actually make $50 the minimum wage, it would bankrupt California, and the people of California would instantly be subjected to poverty, that millions of people would lose their jobs and be unemployed. She knows this as a fact. You're not supposed to think about it. She doesn't want you to stop and understand that she is dodging, she is dancing and weaving as much as she can to avoid the question and just try to take all of the viewers on an emotional roller coaster past this subject, because she doesn't want you to think seriously. She just wants you to react emotionally. And that's kind of sad. It's really sad. I mean, it's enough that we have seen since the Obama administration, every single time the progressives bring this up, every time they get the proof, the empirical evidence that tells them they are wrong, that this won't work, that it's going to actually hurt people, every time we have seen this done, and we have seen businesses close, we have seen people unemployed, we have seen prices increase, every single time, they just say, well, it's just not enough money. We just need to throw more money at it, and we need to just give it more time, and it'll eventually work. But it doesn't work. It has never worked. Look, I know everyone will say, well, Mike, you were pointing at a study in 2018, Obama's people from 2018, 2019, 2022. That's all in the past. We're in 2024. In 2023, Senate Bill 2488. In 2023, Senate Bill 2488 had the same idea. Again, raise the minimum wage. This was about $17 an hour. So again, still an increase, ever more. They always promise more. So they're promising $17 an hour, which is still more than a third less than what Barbara Lee is trying to sell. And what was the answer from, again, the Congressional Budget Office? What did they have to say about this for the fourth time that they have tackled this issue? Well, you can see it for yourself on this page. This was in December of 2023. The answer is more unemployment, more national debt, more people in poverty. That's the answer. That's their report. And you can see the link in the description. You can read it for yourself. But the truth is, it's the same answer we got in 2018. It's the same answer we got every single time that they bring this up. It's really deceptive. You know, you hear a lot about misinformation. Well, here's the misinformation. They're trying to sell you this idea that it's going to work this time. This time they have it figured out. This time it's going to be perfect. Except it never is, and it never will be. I know. Every time we talk about math, people just go, "Oh my God, it's math. I hate math." Look, it's simple, folks. Just think about it. That money doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It has to come from somewhere, and that somewhere is your pocket every single time. The progressives promise you a lot of stuff and give you no details. There's a reason for that. You don't have to believe me. In fact, don't believe me. Go ask Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Anna Presley. Go ask Barbara Lee. Ask them for the Congressional Budget Office report. In fact, I'm leaving the link in the description. Read it for yourself. Go back and read why Obama's economic counselor, his chairwoman, said it doesn't work. The links will be in the description. You find out for yourself, because they are lying to you. They're selling you a bunch of rotten eggs and telling you it's all good. If you found that of interest, though, we hope that you'll also check out our channel on Sunday. I look forward to hearing the comments, but let's see what happens. Thank you.
No Soundbites Allowed is a podcast hosted by Michael Vass. The podcast focuses on providing in-depth discussions on various political and social issues. As the title suggests, the aim is to go beyond quick sound bites and explore topics in greater detail. Michael Vass, the host, engages with guests to analyze and discuss current events, policies, and political ideologies. The live stream and videos cover a wide range of subjects, including politics, economics, social issues, and more. By delving into longer, more comprehensive conversations, No Soundbites Allowed aims to provide listeners with a deeper understanding of the complexities surrounding contemporary issues. AI is listening. Shouldn't you know what AI knows? Aren't you tired of being treated like a child by major media parrots and want to be respected as an adult? There is nothing to lose and a lot to potentially gain, so check out No Soundbites Allowed on all major social media platforms.